Lombardo, and welcome to the first edition of our lesson plans. Today, I'm going to be talking about brand health and how to measure it. If you Google how to measure brand health, it will probably give you answers to things that you don't have access to, like your Net Promoter Score, or purchase intent, or guest surveys. My guess is you don't have access to these. If you do, great. There's some calculations online that will work just fine. The goal of this lesson today is to hopefully show you some things that you do have access to so you can get a sense of your brand health just kind of the same way you probably know your weight, your BMI, maybe. Okay, here we go. So one of the ways that you can measure your brand health is through branded search. I use a tool called SEMrush. This tells me a little pie chart of how much branded search I'm getting. You can also use Google Analytics to do this. But branded search will obviously let you know if people are aware of your brand, they're looking for it. Now, this comes with a little grain of salt because of our industry. So let's say your branded search is 50% or about half. We're only going to give this a weight on a scale of 1 to 5 of like maybe a 2. Here's why. Because a lot of your names sound exactly like the search term. Now, another way you could do this is you could go into your Google Ads. If you have an exact match for Outer Banks vacation rentals and you're getting a ton of branded search that way, go ahead and give yourself the volume and weight the score a little higher because that seems like it's closer. But because so many of these names are so similar to a non-branded search, I'm going to give this weight a little bit of a lower score. So let's say 2. And then I'm going to look at the review mentions. So right now, if you take the link to your Google reviews, if you've got dozens, hundreds, soon you'll be able to put that into your chat GPT and it will read all the reviews. You can also do this now in Adobe. So you could take all of your Google reviews, plug it into AI, and look at how many times your brand name gets mentioned. Again, a little grain of salt if your name sounds very similar to the non-branded search. But how many times is your brand being mentioned in the Google reviews? So let's just say it's about 20 times over the last year, and you've had 200 reviews. It's not much, but we're going to give this a weight of like 3. Then you go to return guests. How many return guests do you get year after year? If it's 40% or return guests. It's a good metric to start with. Return guests are big, so we'll give that a weight of 4. And then brand sentiment. So another thing you can do if you can aggregate all of your reviews or your guest feedback is to kind of get a tone. So asking AI for a tone reading or looking at the total number of positive words versus negative words to get a brand sentiment. If you're using a social media tool like Brandwatch is great. Sprout Social can also help with this, where it will just give you a sentiment score right there in the software. If you don't have those tools, you're going to end up doing this manually. But you can give yourself a brand sentiment value for how many positive versus negative. So if you give yourself another 30% for having 30% positive mentions, that's huge. So you want to give that another weight of 4. It's a heavy thing to get positive reviews. We're going to give it a 4. Now, the reason we give it a weight is because not all these things are equal for every brand. I used to do this for Kraft Heinz. They have like 39 brands, and they needed a way to hold their brand managers accountable for how well they were doing, even though ketchup is obviously different from their mac and cheese brand. So by creating a system like this for them, we were able to hold the managers accountable for their performance because we were able to adjust the weight based on the product we were analyzing. So come up with a value, come up with a weight, and then you come up with a score. Just do some math here, total up that score, divide it by however many you used on this. You might scratch off one of these because you're like, Rebecca, I am heck no going through all those Google reviews. It's better to start somewhere than nowhere. So just wanted to give you a few ideas. Do the math here on the score, total it up, divide by how many factors you took into consideration, and that is your brand health. Oh, you actually wanted to see me do the math? No, you don't. Not in my head. Hope this is helpful. Cheers.